So let's hop into this video really quick. I'm not being rude, but to start off, anybody making comments like this, I'm going to delete your comments. I'm gonna put you in timeout today. This live is about never putting oils and butters on the scalp. Period. Any type of oil. I am a herbalist, and as a herbalist, I sell herbs. I make extracts, and none of them go on the scalp. Oils and butters do not go on the scalp, and that's what we're talking about today. And it's not something that is up for debate. So let's hop right into it. Now, this little thing that looks like a little skin palette, a little bubble on the on the right hand side, I apologize, is what is called the sebaceous gland. This is the gland within your scalp or within your skin, all over your body, that produces oil. And what this first illustration is showing is a product that slows down sebum production. All right, it slows down sebum production, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But this is something that I just want you to visually see, so you can visually see the way that the sebaceous gland works. So as you can see, the sebaceous gland releases a waxy substance that is supposed to cover the scalp momentarily to protect it, and then the hair shaft. But somebody who has an aggressive sebum production like myself, I use something, not what's on the screen, but what my additive is something like avocado oil. And see what the avocado oil does. The avocado oil, it does what you see, these little blue pellets that this is about to break down, right? These little blue pellets, it kind of acts the same way that avocado oil does for my skin, but not avocado oil itself, the essence of avocados, right? So they don't take the actual avocado, press the oil out. No, a chemist knows how to break down the properties of a vegetable or whatever they're using and take only the properties that they need and push the other ones aside. But the properties that they take out of avocado oil does slow down sebum production. So what it does is it goes into the hair follicle, not avocado oil, because avocado oil itself cannot fit inside, right? And this goes in and it reacts with the sebaceous gland and it slows down the production of sebum within the hair follicle. Okay, so when I say, oh, you can put different products on the scalp, the only thing that I say that are recommended to put on the scalp are things recommended by a dermatologist. So a product like this that you're looking at is something that would be recommended by a dermatologist. I'm going to start this over. If you are a person who has something like, let's say, seborrheic dermatitis, seborrheic dermatitis is an overproduction of sebum, right? So if you are overly producing sebum in the sebaceous gland, like this is demonstrating, dermatologists would recommend something to you like this drug on the screen or anything like that. They would recommend something to you that you could put on the scalp topically. And what it does, it goes into the follicle and it slows down the sebum production by a certain chemical reaction with the inner parts of the sebaceous gland. All right. So that is what I really, really want y'all to understand. When I say do not put oils or butters or anything on the scalp, some people will say, oh, well, your dermatologist gives you the things that your dermatologist gives you. And an oil or a grease and a butter are two completely different things, because it is carrying this particle here that is causing this reaction that is going to slow down sebum production. But just the random oil that you're getting from the grocery store, just the random oil, no, you're not doing that, because what ends up happening then is you end up causing a extremely toxic environment for the hair follicle. Now, in the past, when we talked about rice water, people were all the rage, because I was like, you are killing yourself slowly, killing your follicle slowly by doing that. And that is exactly what I meant. Because when you change the environment of the hair's follicle, what you end up doing is slowing down the hair growth cycle. Now, look at this. This is gross. Sorry, let me pause this for you guys. If you are eating something, pause this. Now, I want to show you something. In this clip, what you are seeing is somebody removing a plug, a sebum plug from the face, right? And let's hold the questions into the end of this video, y'all, and then I'm going to get to all of your questions. What you're seeing next is a sebum plug. So when you see stuff like this is sebum. Sebum is a waxy substance. So when it gets clogged, when you're thinking of like clogged follicles, clogged pores, whiteheads, blackheads, that's sebum. Look at the way that it looks. That is sebum being taken out. That little casting that you're seeing wrapped around that hair, just watch, it's going to spew out. That's a waxy substance. That is sebum spewing out of the follicle. Okay? Because you see that. Give me a 5 if you can see that. I know that's gross, right? But I really want you guys to understand what's happening, because when you have excess sebum on the scalp or excess oils from you adding extra oils, somebody just said, so walnut oil and hemp seed oil. We're going to talk about that in a second. Detangling with oil and putting things on the scalp are completely different. So in this illustration, you can see the sebaceous gland in the skin. The sebaceous gland is automatically producing the sebum that you need. It's being released from the pore, and it is a waxy substance. As you can see, it's wrapped around the hair shaft. But if you are constantly greasing the scalp, constantly oiling the scalp, you are clogging the pore, and you are making it so that bacteria is accumulating in there, because guess what? Bacteria and all of the toxins that are in the environment, their favorite food is oil. So when you leave it clogged up, right, you create a environment where bacteria can grow. This is why you feel burning and you have the redness and the soreness and the itching and the inflammation, right? That leads to seborrheic dermatitis and dandruff. This is why it is so important to shampoo your hair on a regular basis. And this is also why it is so important not to grease the scalp, okay? You have the follicle, the hair shaft, and the sebaceous gland. This is what's going on. And within the sebaceous gland, your body is producing sebum. But not only is your body producing sebum, as the hair shaft is growing, the different layers of the cells on the hair shaft are dying off and falling off. That's the cuticle. So there are dead hair cells that are falling off, and sebum coming up, and acid, and bacteria, and sweat all coming up. So if you are greasing the scalp, okay, if you're greasing the scalp, if you're constantly putting oil there, all you're doing is blocking the follicle, right? And even if you do, some people say, oh, well, I use a non-comedogenic oil. It's not blocking the follicle. Okay, it's not blocking, but it's mixing with sweat, makeup, more of your natural oil. So you adding oils to your scalp, you adding grease to the scalp is only mixing in with everything that the body is releasing out. And all this does, it causes an overabundance of bacteria. This is why Black women are the leading causes of seborrheic dermatitis, CCCA, alopecia areata, telogen effluvium, and all of these different scalp disorders that all are directly linked to the follicle being blocked. I don't care what anybody says. Grease does not belong on the scalp. When you have bumps and things of that nature on the scalp, or just period, it comes from a blocked sebaceous gland. This is what the sebaceous gland looks like. And this is sebum. Sebum is not an oil. Sebum is a waxy substance. And we're going to talk about it in a second. It's a waxy substance. So give me a 5 if you remember me talking about skin cell turnover. Skin cell turnover. This is the natural bacteria that lives on everybody's scalp. But when you're adding extra oil, all you're doing is causing inflammation, because the bacteria that lives on everybody's scalp, its favorite food is oil. So you're not helping by adding oil. All you're doing is causing even more inflammation. And after that, this is when your blackheads and your whiteheads form. And my loves, it happens on the skin and under the skin. The whiteheads that you see on the face, that's how it shows up on that first layer of skin on the face. But the same thing happens on the scalp. Skin cell turnover is something that happens every 28 days. Every 28 days, the skin cells on your scalp, they die, they fall off, and they make their way out. But guess what? You see all that dead skin. I want to rewind that because I want you to get that a good visual. All right. When you are constantly clogging the scalp, when you're constantly putting oils and butters on the scalp, the skin cell turnover cycle happens every 28 days. Every 28 days, the skin cells on your scalp, they die off and then they make their way off. And if you're washing your hair on a regular basis, combing your hair on a regular basis, they lift right off. No problem. But they do not if you're greasing the scalp. They do not if you're adding excess oil. If you're adding excess oil, you're rehydrating them. At every second of the day, there's sebum coming out of your scalp, and it is your job to cleanse your hair shaft. That's it. All you have to do is shampoo your hair. Shampooing the hair is the easiest way to remove bacteria. Nothing extra. The key is breaking up these dead skin cells, not allowing them to formulate on the hair shaft. But if you're greasing the scalp, these dead skin cells cannot lift up. They can't. Our only job is to keep the scalp clean, and the only thing that belongs on the scalp is shampoo. Unless, like displayed at the very beginning of this video, you are trying to cure some type of follicle infection or something like that. But you guys, you are supposed to remove things from the scalp. You are never supposed to be putting things on them. I'm sorry. And I know a lot of people will want to argue about that, but I need you to look at this. Look at this really quick, right? And I want you to pay attention to this illustration. Look at the way that before, and as you notice what I'm talking about, if you do not agree or if you do not understand, do not let me keep talking. All right. As you are listening to the sound of my voice, I need you to let me know when you see this. Sebum is not a oil like almond oil. It is a waxy substance. I'm going to give you the scientific name in a second. But do you see the way that before your hair peeks out of your hair follicle, before it peeks out of the skin, before your hair ever comes out of the skin, right? It is covered in sebum before it comes out. So you don't have to wait for sebum to drip on your hair. Look at it. It's covered in it. All you have to do is comb your hair to help drag it out. And see, when you go to a dermatologist, sometimes if you have an overproduction of oil and they don't necessarily know why, they're going to try out a lot of different things. Some of the different things that a dermatologist will recommend to you, if they don't know that the only problem that you're having is from excess oils and butters that you're putting on the scalp, right? If they don't know that this is the reason that you're doing this, they may prescribe something to you that just causes your sebaceous gland to shrink altogether. So that way you just won't produce as much oil because they don't know what to do. They don't understand what's going on in the first place. So these are things that I want all of us to really, really think about. Okay. I really want us to get in a place where we can have these conversations, right? Free of judgment, free of offense, right? Nobody is getting in their feelings. Nobody is getting offended. I have this blog post linked in the description box below. And as soon as it's done, I want you guys to head over there and not only read it, but watch all of the videos that I have linked in this blog post that go a little bit deeper into it, because folliculitis is a hair follicle disorder that is directly related to greasing the scalp. And there are so many women who have folliculitis and don't even know it. Like a lot of women that experience like burning and tingling and soreness in the scalp and don't even really know it. All right. So I already gave you guys a visual representation, right? But the sebaceous gland is a type of oil gland in the skin that produces an oily substance called sebum. Now, for whatever reason, even every book that I've been taught in, it always says oily substance. Well, we reading it, but then when you go down into it, it's actually a waxy substance, right? Now, it contains so many powerful substances, right? So for everybody who is like, what about almond oil? What about this oil? There is not one oil on this planet that does for your hair shaft what sebum does. So let's break down all of the properties of sebum, because this is a thing that people are so worried about, because I'm going to teach you guys by the end of this exactly how to detox the follicle. It's extremely simple. There are not any crazy YouTube hack steps. It's very simple, okay? But shampooing your hair is something that you're supposed to do to remove excess sebum. At every second of every day, there is more sebum coming out. The second, right now, at this very second, there is sebum on top of your hair, on your scalp, blocking new sebum that wants to come out. As soon as you wash sebum off, more sebum comes out. Okay. So let's break down the components of sebum. Give me a 2 if you are still with me. I don't want to lose anybody. Give me a 2 if you are still with me. I'm going to get to everybody's questions in a second. Should I do 2-strand twist my hair dry? Y'all, I'm sorry. I cannot talk about 2-strand twist today. I love y'all, but I can't. Okay. Okay, we can go to 2. Let me go back. I'm sorry. Oh Lord, it just be though it be making my eyebrows itch. Okay, triglycerides. Triglycerides are a type of fat composed of 3 fatty acid molecules attached to a aerosol molecule. Okay, in sebum, triglyceride provides a source of energy and contribute to the lipid barrier that helps prevent excessive water loss from the skin. And it's not just the skin, it's the hair shaft. So you know how on social media and everywhere you look now, it's like, oh, moisture, you need moisture, you need moisture. There is not a product on the market that can help you with moisture better than the natural sebum that is coming from the follicle. And see, it's a play on words, because what they don't tell you is the products are not putting moisture in your hair. They're balancing your body. They're balancing the hair shaft so the hair shaft can get the moisture like it's supposed to from the scalp. Products are not actually putting moisture in the hair. It's setting and balancing the pH levels so the natural moisture that's coming from the follicle can moisturize the hair like it's meant to. A chemist is not dumb. A chemist knows that your hair can only absorb moisture from the environment and from the body. So it creates an environment for the body or for your hair shaft to receive and hold on the moisture that it's receiving from your hair shaft, your follicle, the sebum, and from the inside. Because that's why your hair shaft cannot be locked down with products, because your hair gets moisture from the environment. That's why everybody is going around in so many circles trying to try all of these different products, because it never works. As soon as you get done using the product, you still have dry hair. It didn't fix anything. It just put a band-aid on it, because your hair only absorbs moisture from the environment and from what you put inside of your body. Okay? And from the sebum that is coming from the scalp. That is what gives you the slip that you need. The next thing is free fatty acids. Free fatty acids are individual acid molecules that are released when triglycerides break down. So the triglycerides and the fatty acids work together, and this all is happening within the sebum that is coming out of your hair follicle. They have antimicrobial properties that contribute to the skin's defense against harmful microorganisms. So, the reason that so many women have follicle and scalp disorders, I'm going to go back in a second and show you guys that illustration. But in that illustration, I showed you, give me a 2 right now, if you remember. I showed you in that illustration how bacteria is accumulating. You know why bacteria is accumulating? Because you're blocking the follicle with the oils and the butters that you're putting on there. So the sebum's antimicrobial benefits that come out to protect your scalp against the free radicals that cause seborrheic dermatitis, that cause folliculitis, and that cause all of these different bacterial scalp infections. Your body cannot fight off diseases. Your body cannot fight off microorganisms or bacteria infections because you keep grease in the scalp. And guess what? Think about this. Your sebum, the sebum has antimicrobial properties, right? So it starves the bacteria that lives on our scalp. The sebum starves it, it kills it, it shrinks it. But guess what oil does? Oil feeds it, it strengthens it, it powers it up, it attaches it to the charger. So anyone who tells you that you need to oil your scalp, I'm sorry, my love, there's somebody who does not have the proper education on the human scalp. Because all you're doing by oiling the scalp, even if you're using a non-comedogenic oil, comedogenic, the word comedogenic means to block the pores or the follicles. So a comedogenic oil is coconut oil. A non-comedogenic oil is almond oil. So you will go, oh, I can use hemp seed oil on my scalp or walnut oil on my scalp because it's a non-comedogenic oil. You are wrong because your follicle is fighting off bacteria. So you are working against your body for the opposite team. You're supposed to be in co-creation, making things easier for your body to fight. When you add oil to your scalp, you are adding an additional enemy for your body to fight against. You are no help. You're a hindrance to your body when you add oil. And I'm sorry, whoever feels how you can feel how you want to feel, it's a fact. And if you disagree, please pull out a fact and show me. Number 2, wax esters. Listen, wax esters are esters formed by the combination of fatty acids and a fatty alcohol. This is something that naturally happens in the body. This is not something that you are putting in your hair from an outside source. Your body is a city. Your body was made by a masterful creator. Everything that we're talking about right now happens in your body as you sleep without any help from you. Now, there's not a product on the market that can do what your body can do naturally. And sebum wax esters play a role in creating a protective barrier on the skin surface, helping to prevent dehydration. Do you understand? The lock method that y'all talking about works against you. Because if you wash your hair and then immediately put an oil, a liquid, and a cream on your hair, the sebum never touches your scalp to induce any of the antimicrobial properties. It can't do anything. Your hair is covered in oil. It is covered in grease. And the grease and the oil that you're putting on your scalp, that hot 6 oil, I don't care what anybody says. Anybody who is disagreeing with me is literally saying that some human being made another product in a bottle that is more powerful than what God put in your body, how God made your body to work naturally. And I'm sorry, if somebody think that way, that's a claim. And if you listening to that, what does that make you? The next thing within sebum is squalene. This is a natural organic compound and a precursor to steroids. In sebum, squalene helps to lubricate the skin and hair, providing a protective and moisturizing layer. Do you hear me? Next, cholesterol. Now, we talked about this, the cholesterol shampoo and conditioner. The reason that cholesterol was removed from the market and the reason that they made cholesterol in the first place, cholesterol is derived from its main ingredient comes from sheep wool, Esther. Okay? It comes from sheep's wool. They take sheep's wool and they put it in a machine. They take all of the impurities out and they press all of the oil out of sheep's wool, and then it's like this thick, pasty like thing that they use, and then they add a couple other additives to it, and that is the cholesterol conditioner. They didn't go and use that because, oh, this is so healthy. No, they were looking for something to mimic the cholesterol that naturally lives within your hair's natural sebum. Do you hear me? Listen to me. Stop running up behind these hair products. Stop running up behind these people who do not know what they're talking about when it comes to the hair shaft. Give me a 5 if you still with me. Give me a 5 if you can still hear me. That is what cholesterol it was derived from. They didn't, oh, this is such a great product. No. Scientists and chemists were in the lab. They said, oh, sheep's wool, if we do this, this somewhat mimics what sebum does naturally. This is sheep's wool sebum. We can get sebum from an animal source. So cholesterol is a animal source of the natural sebum that is coming from your scalp. But guess what? If you just comb your hair, if you just have a style that allows the sebum to flow naturally, and when I'm saying comb your hair every day, y'all, if you have braids, obviously you're not combing your hair every day, but if you have braids, whatever style you have, you want to make sure that it is a style that allows sebum to flow down the hair shaft naturally, right? And you want to comb it. When I say slow down, I mean it's like, okay, downward direction, but sebum is not going to move down your scalp without any effort from you. It will not. Now, if your hair is in braids, right, it's still not gonna move all the way from your root all the way to your ends. No, it is not. It'll travel probably halfway down, then it'll get stuck, and then that's why you can only leave braids in for so long, because after a while, the follicle in the scalp gets inflamed because it is a waxy substance that has to be moved. Because if it is not moved, it accumulates. All right. And sebum cholesterol contributes to the stability of lipids, of the lipid barrier, and helps maintain the integrity of the hair and skin. So these are things that I really want y'all to think about. Like it's not as easy as everybody thinks that it is. So speeding up sebum production, increased sebum production, it really, really sometimes is the thing that signals your inflammation. Now, stress is going to increase your sebum production. Whenever you are stressed in any type of way, what ends up happening is your body ends up releasing the hormone cortisol, and cortisol will help you out. Like, all right, we don't know what's going on. Stuff getting hot and heavy. Let's go ahead, give us some more oil. Give them some more oil. Help them slick through. You can't slick a can of oil. That's what your body think. Your body think it need a little bit of help. It don't know that you're causing the stress, right? So there are a lot of different things that lead to it. That's why I want you guys to head over to this blog post so you can break all of those things down. Now, having these things slow down will cause your hair growth cycle to slow down. This is why the 7-day hair growth challenge is so freaking amazing for you and all of my clients, because everybody who takes my 7-day challenge, they automatically are able to visually see sebum come out of their scalp there, or even if they're not, I don't mean like see it like they can see it oozing out, but I'm saying like they can touch it and see it. They can see the difference. Dry scalp is not a thing that people in my 7-day challenge are talking about. It's just not a thing. All right, so let's go into some of the different properties of peppermint, spearmint, and gunpowder green tea, because this is my Zen gunpowder green tea blend. And this one here is a freaking powerhouse. If you're a person who has imbalanced sebum production, if you are a person who deals with maybe something like IBS, where you are like dealing with too much stress, your body's releasing too much cortisol, you want it to slow down, this is a freaking amazing blend. Do not take my word for it. Make sure you head over to my website, check out some of my reviews on this blend. I think this blend has the most reviews. All right. So it has anti-inflammatory properties. The peppermint contains menthol, which has anti-inflammatory properties. And this can potentially soothe inflammation on the scalp, because I need you guys to remember, like we talked about before, you have an overall trigger, which we talked about. Then you have the inflammation, and then you have the disorder. So we already talked about the trigger and then tackling the inflammation. And now you get rid of whatever that disorder is. All right. The cooling sensation, the menthol and peppermint provides a cooling sensation that will help to alleviate discomfort associated with inflammation. Antimicrobial effects. The peppermint has antimicrobial properties that will be beneficial for maintaining a healthy scalp environment. All right. The spearmint is amazing because it has anti-androgenic effects. Now, this is freaking amazing. When it comes to the spearmint, this blend is masterful for this spearmint, because the spearmint has so many properties. Remember what we talked about with DHT. Remember what we talked about earlier with the seborrheic dermatitis, all of that. All right. Because spearmint has been found to have anti-androgenic effects, which may be relevant in conditions like different things that causes you to have excess sebum production, things that throw off your natural skin cell turnover cycle, and all of that. It just really helps to balance those hormones from all of those different things, right? Now, studies have shown that spearmint tea may help to balance hormones, potentially influencing conditions that are related to hair growth regulation and sebum production, because your sebum production and your hair growth cycle are going to be directly related to the changes in your hormones, right? Because remember, any type of stress, whether it's physical stress, emotional stress, things, something that you went through, if you had stress, something with your job, anything, those things trigger stress. Stress triggers the telogen phase of the hair growth cycle. And the telogen phase of the hair growth cycle is the phase of the hair growth cycle where your hair is not growing, it's not falling out, it's not doing anything, it's just dormant. So that's something that you should really be cautious of, right? And gunpowder green tea is amazing. Gunpowder green tea, like if you look at that picture, if you like try to take a screenshot and get a close up of it, green tea, the gunpowder green tea, I'm sorry, for them to ship it, like it was really expensive. So they would take the leaves, and the leaves are a lot longer than regular tea leaves, and they roll them into little balls. So the gunpowder green tea, like it's a lot more tea in there than it really looks like, because there's so many little balls, but they're rolled up into these itty bitty ones, right? But it is great because it has these amazing antioxidant properties, right? And it is rich in so many different things that are going to have different effects on the body to curb oxidative stress. And oxidative stress are going to be the thing that directly leads to different forms of inflammation. Oxidative stress is when you have free radicals, which are basically like bacteria that's just running around the scalp. It doesn't have, or the body doesn't have anywhere to go. It's running around unchecked, right? And just causing havoc. That's what ends up causing diseases, and it will cause this inflammation. So it makes sure that all of those are gone. And now DHT inhibitors. Now this is a powerhouse. When we are dealing with balding and things like seborrheic dermatitis, and seborrheic dermatitis, somebody said before, it ends up leading to different things like androgenetic alopecia and things of that nature. Well, that is because everybody has testosterone, male and female, but at one point of our life, that testosterone converts to something called DHT. DHT ends up going in, attacking the hair follicle and making the hair follicle detach itself from the blood supply. And then after that, you end up having bald spots and different things of that nature. So by having something that ends up inhibiting testosterone, inhibiting that transition from testosterone to DHT, what ends up happening, that hair loss is going to in return slow down. Like that hair loss won't happen because that testosterone won't be converted into DHT, so there'll be nothing to attack the hair follicle. So that's something that you should really notice. I know that when the very first time that I ever had that happen, where I could like literally feel my hair follicle burning, like it was being attacked. Anytime I drink this tea, especially if I brew it for at least like 30 minutes, not boil it for 30 minutes, but let it brew for 30 minutes, it's almost like it's, and don't take my word for it, look at some of my reviews. This is a really, really good tea to have in your repertoire. Okay. So I really, really want you guys to think about that. Okay. There are so many different things that product buildup can do. There's so many different things that product buildup can do to the hair follicle, but I'm going to get into some of your questions really quick. And then you guys let me know right now, as I'm about to go back and read some of your questions, if whether or not you want to go into this before you leave. I was always under the impression that if I use a non-clogging carrier oil along with tea tree or essential bacterial oil, that was helping to keep my scalp healthy. They lied. They did not know what they were talking about. Did you see the illustration? I will play it again for you because I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to visually see it. A oil being comedogenic or non-comedogenic only has to do with if whether or not the oil is going to block the follicles or not. That's it. But there's another property. The second property is the bacteria that lives in your scalp's favorite food is oil. Its favorite food is oil. So all you're doing by oiling the scalp is feeding the bacteria that lives in your scalp its favorite food, even with a carrier oil, because I want you to understand its favorite food is the oil, but then you're adding an essential oil. All you're doing is literally adding something for the oil to fight against. You're just adding more things for your body to fight against. That's not how you keep your scalp healthy. No, you keep your scalp healthy by keeping things off of it. That's not it. It's not. The more you clog the pore, the more you clog the follicle, the more you clog the follicle, the more inflammation you have. That's it. That's all. If you add oil, the more things you add to the scalp, the more things you add to the scalp, the more inflamed the scalp is. Like at every point in time, you have dead hair cells, which are different parts of the cuticle that didn't make it to stay on, and all of the other things that are in the follicle that are trying to come out. All you do by adding oil inside of your hair shaft is creating a bigger clog and feeding the bacteria. When you add oil to the scalp, you add bacteria's favorite food. So they be like, come on, Craig. Come on, Mimi. Come on, Joe. She got that good shit. Come on, Mimi. She got that good. Yeah, she got that hemp oil. You know we like that hemp oil. She got that almond oil, Joe. Hey, Rocco. She got that walnut today. She got that almond. You know you love that almond. You're not helping anything. You're clogging it, and then it just keeps growing and swelling and swelling and swelling. And I need y'all to remember, this is something that can take anywhere between 6 months and 25 years to show up. This is not something that happens instantly. I don't care what anybody says. Adding oil to the scalp, adding oil to the follicle does the same thing that adding oil to your skin does. This is how, look, pay attention. This is what's happening under the skin when you get pimples and stuff, right? This is what the pimple looks like. The seborrheic dermatitis, dandruff, folliculitis is all that, but underneath. It's underneath the skin. in the sebaceous gland. There is all, look at this. I'm about to rewind it. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to the way that the sebum is creeping up the hair shaft. Look at that. It's creeping up the hair shaft. All you putting oil on your scalp is going to do is slow that process down. Let's look at it again. You putting oil within your hair follicle is only going to slow that down. You're not help. What are you helping? I'm not being rude. I need somebody to explain to me what putting oil in the hair follicle is going to do to help that process. Again, what is putting oil on the scalp going to do to help this sebum come up the hair? Like, make it make sense. And if you can't make it make sense, you shouldn't do it. This is what's supposed to be happening. The sebum that's coming up is supposed to be clearing up things, but your pores are going to be clogged. And that bacteria, you see that yellow stuff that's right there? Hold on, let me rewind that. The yellow spores that you are about to see is the bacteria that creates folliculitis. All right? Guess what its favorite food is? Oil. So if you're putting oil on the scalp, all you're doing is feeding that bacteria its favorite food. And you're like, yes, girl. It's making my hair grow. It's making my hair grow, girl. And you talking, and the bacteria like, Craig, she got that good shit, Craig. Come over here, she got all that oil, Craig. And then your inflammation just keeps growing because you're feeding the bacteria and they multiplying, they having kids. They having family reunions at your scalp. And that's why you have all of the different bacteria infections within the scalp. It happens on the face, but it also happens within the follicle as well. I'm sorry, you guys, but there's in no way, shape, or form where putting oil and grease on the scalp helps. In no way, shape, or form. And I mean, if anybody disagrees, please enter the floor and give me some facts, because I would love to hear it. Oh my God, I would love to hear it and research. And I would come on here like, girl, I was wrong. And Shanissa was right. But so far, I haven't seen anything of the latter, guys. So I really need y'all to let's end it all. So sebum can never reach your ends. Who said that? Who said that? Comb it. All you have to do is comb your hair. And I love y'all, but this is the point where, not you, but this is the point where it becomes annoying. There is no trick. Literally, all you have to do is comb your hair. Do y'all understand? The way that I'm explaining this to y'all is the same thing for everybody else. All you have to do is comb your hair to get it down the hair shaft. If your hair is out, comb your hair to get the sebum to your ends. That is it. All you need is a comb or a brush. I swear to God, that's the only way. Like, there's no complicated trick. There's no like extra thing that you have to do. Just comb your hair and keep your scalp clean. There's nothing else to do.